Exercise 3, part 2 here is all about rewriting your headline. So, a major pain point in the story we tell about ourselves because of the breakup is this stuff. Whatever stories we're telling ourselves, our subconscious mind emotionally responds to as if they are the truth. So, we have to really surface these things and then question them and rewrite the stories for ourselves. So, in the area below, you can take inventory of the stories you've been telling yourself about the breakup. What headline do you have, and how can you change this to something more healing and compassionate towards yourself, and practice substituting painful stories for more balanced perspective? So, as we reference in the course, we talk about rewriting headlines, and I want you to use this space here in the workbook to really just fill out and write out anything that shows up for you that's really powerful in terms of rewriting your headline. So, if your headline right now is, I'm going to be alone forever, you might reframe that to, I am learning to love the relationship to myself and be happy and safe there so I can then meet other people and enjoy their company too, right? That was a little bit of a long one, but you would pick something that's reframing in a healthy way. And I want that to be basically your personal mantra as you're going throughout this breakup. Like, this is your theme, your North Star, how you're choosing to perceive this instead, and using this to show up in the relationship to yourself in a way that's empowering and helpful. So the next part of our clearing process, we're going to tune into the other part of why a breakup hurts, okay? And this is our unmet needs. This is the fact that we can get our needs met through a specific person in a relationship, and obviously when that relationship ends, those needs seem to be unmet. Now, I want you to know first and foremost, your brain has a homeostatic impulse. It is like a needs meeting machine. If something is unmet, your brain's going to start looking naturally, your subconscious mind, without even your conscious awareness knowing, is going to start looking for ways to fill up those cups of unmet needs. It's going to be trying to fill those buckets immediately, okay? And it may do this in a variety of forms instead of one singular form. So, for example, you might have had a tremendous amount of emotional connection needs met from your romantic partner. And then when the breakup happens, there might be this emotional void from one person. But what you'll find is that after a breakup, what do people do? They reach out to old friends, family. They watch a lot of emotional movies. They start connecting to themselves more and feeling all of their own emotions. They're actually getting a lot of emotional connection needs met, but just in a variety of different places instead of just from one single person. So there's two things happening with our needs. Number one, we are not recognizing that those needs are in fact being met, but just in a more dispersed variety of ways instead of through one single person. And so it makes it sort of invisible to us, and we perceive more of a void than there is. And number two, there is a transition of needs to a certain degree no matter what. And we want to be able to seek those needs out consciously and intentionally in the best form possible so we can meet those needs for ourselves and fill those buckets so that there is no void and there's no suffering as a result, okay? So what I want you to do is, in order to do this, we first have to make our needs a solvable problem by identifying them. So what I want you to recognize is, like, what was the person in your romantic relationship, what needs were they needing? And I want you to write out as many as you can, and you can refer to the needs list in your workbook. But write out as many needs as you can possibly think of. And then what I want you to do is, I want you to ask yourself, as you look through the 7 areas of life, where do I still have these needs met substantially? So you're first sort of healing that perception of a void that exists, because sometimes we perceive that something is missing more than it actually is. So let's say, for example, we say emotional connection. And you look and you go, well, that person was meeting my emotional connection needs 8 out of 10. And I had some friends and family that were only meeting them like 2 out of 10. When the breakup occurs, where are you getting that 8 out of 10? Naturally, you start meeting it in a relationship to yourself. You're really emotionally connected to yourself. You're feeling your feelings. You're thinking about your feelings all the time. You are tuned in. So where did that become substantially more present? And I know that's not the fun one in there, but how does that have value to you? What is it showing you about the emotional wounds you have? What is it bringing you in the relationship to yourself? What pieces of awareness and insight? And then I want you to also look at, who else do I have emotional connection from still? Do I have more of those friends and family members, and have I reconnected to them further? And maybe nobody's stepping in and replacing that 8 out of 10, but maybe a couple friends are bumping it up 2 notches each. And so maybe that supplements an extra 4 out of 10 between those two, right? And so I want you to look for, like, where is your bucket already naturally being filled in terms of your emotional connection needs? And then in the column next to that, I want you to ask yourself, how can I get these needs met even further? What can I consciously and intentionally do to fill my bucket even more? And this is going to empower you to not get stuck in this sort of trauma response of fight, flight, or freeze, of not having my needs met, and empower you to take steps in order to heal even further, okay? So do what you can in terms of writing as many needs out that are unmet, then recognizing in a different of the 7 areas of life, like maybe your partner was validating you a lot, and they were meeting your needs for significance or importance, 7 out of 10. Where else do you have validation in your life? Maybe you look in your career. Oh my gosh, I have some in my career. Maybe you look in other friendships again and family members. Maybe there are different colleagues that you have. Maybe there are different things you do online where you're getting, validation to a certain degree from people online. Look at all the different spaces that exist in your life and see where the bucket is already actually more full than you're recognizing, so you can equilibrate that perceived void. And also look for how you can intentionally fill that void through taking action and taking steps towards doing it on purpose, okay? And this is extremely important in terms of getting your needs met. So what I want you to do is I want you to just get really clear, write out as many unmet needs as possible so that you can be empowered to create changes. So let's just recap what we have so far before we do a deep dive into our 4th major piece here. So far, we have the entirety of the stories that we tell in a one-sided perspective, about the ending of the relationship, okay? We look at only what we lost, only the pain points. We don't look at what we can gain, what we can learn, how we can grow. So we balance that out first. Secondly, we change the headlines and the stories we tell about ourselves as a result of the breakup or the relationship not working. It doesn't mean we don't try to take away the pieces of insight that we have. It doesn't mean, like, if we were showing up with anger issues, for example, we're not like, woman showed up with anger issues, woman had no anger issues, right? You don't like lie to yourself in the headline. You take those things away and you recognize those patterns from step number 1. And step number 2, you change these painful interpretations you're telling and make sure that you question them, especially if they're just untrue, because we have such a strong tendency to just stamp labels on ourselves and just respond emotionally as if those things are absolute truths, okay? So if it was relationship didn't work because of woman's anger, maybe we could change it to there were many problems in the relationships that were co-created that produced woman's anger, and woman's choosing to work on her anger and expand and grow and prepare for future relationships. Like, we can work at however we need to, but we need to change these, like, ultimate worst case scenario, absolutely painful stories, okay? So rewriting the story of yourself and really questioning what that story was in the first place and how we can change its existence. Change number 3 that we're making is we're taking power back over those unmet needs. We're not just gonna let those needs go unmet and flounder, right? We're being intentional. We're identifying those needs, we're isolating them, and we're creating conscious strategies to see how these things already exist in our lives so we heal that perceived void, and to make sure that we reach out to others to fill those cups or fill those buckets and get our needs met long term, so we can move through the healing of the breakup a lot more efficiently. So in the next module, we're going to move into the golden shadow components and how to really do a deep dive into that and clean up that last major piece before going into some of the practical tools and steps we can go through in terms of just the natural change that occurs post-breakup. So exercise 4 here is all about healing the void of unmet needs. So when we get our needs met through someone in a relationship, those needs will be unmet after a breakup. You want to become aware of as many unmet needs as possible so you can then become empowered to create change. So in the chart below, use the common list of needs from the additional materials and resources section at the back of your workbook to identify what you'll miss most from the old relationship. And in the second column, you can write where these needs are still being met in different forms. In the third column, you can write strategies to get these needs met for yourself in healthy ways. And this is an exercise in creative thinking. You can really sit here and brainstorm this out for a little bit. And in the fourth column, you can write ways that you can still retrieve these needs in your relationships with others. So, there's lots of spaces. You don't have to fill them all out, but just fill out as many as you can. So maybe you say, my unmet needs were attention. Maybe you say, feeling seen. I'm just saying this is from the person in a relationship who was meeting those needs. Laughter or humor. Okay, and so you would fill these things out. Again, you can refer to the back of your workbook for more ideas. But I'm just going to give you a couple of examples here. Okay, where do I still get attention in different forms? You might say, I am paying attention to my own emotions more. I get attention and closeness from my friends and family a lot right now. I am rebuilding my relationship with God. You can say whatever sort of comes up for you there. So you can pick as many different versions of this where you have these needs still being met in different forms, okay? And how can I get these needs met more in the relationship to myself? I can develop a better morning and evening routine. I can journal more often. I can set intentions for my day according to my needs. So you can come up with a whole bunch of strategies here. Then how to get these needs met in other areas or relationships in your life. You might say, I can ask for my best friend to be more present with me. I can participate more in work projects. Speak up, that should say slash. Speak up more so I feel seen and included. Okay, and so you just go through here. I can ask my family to be more present when I go to visit. Okay, so you're just literally filling out these strategies, these structures, like you're really getting clear. How do I still have these things in some way so we don't see that void as much? How can I give these things more to the relationship to myself? And how can I express these needs more from other people who I value and care about? And you're just repeating this for each of the major needs that the person you were dating represents in your life so that you can reach that space of equilibrium and wholeness significantly more quickly. And what you'll see here on this next page is just that there's more space for you to be able to move through these exercises and list off those needs.